evening and welcome to Athens City Council. It's Monday night, October 3rd at 7 o'clock in the evening. And tonight we're in our regular session where we'll be reading some ordinances. We'll start off with establishing the quorum, and all council members are here. And the next item of business is disposition of minutes. We have two sets, one from our regular session held September 19th and another from the special session of council held on September 26th. So if we could have a motion to approve these minutes. So moved. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The minutes are approved. We have some communications. I have one communication. I know Councilmember Pappy has several, and then we'll gather them from other council members. But the first one is that council has received from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control a request for a C1 permit class for Silver Serpent LLC, and this is located at 55 North Court Street. And this is for liquor license for beer only in the original sealed container. So that's the notice that we have received, and if we are to respond, the responses would have to be postmarked no later than October 31st, 2016. And Councilmember Pappy, you have several announcements.
Does anyone know if this is an existing license that's going up for renewal, or if this is a brand new license?
I think it's new. It's new. It says new.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think where 55 is.
55 is the former Skis Tees, which was the former Mama Einstein's, which was the former Dugout, which...
Okay.
Keep going. That's as far as my history goes.
Oh, okay.
It's right below Artifacts on the corner of West State Street and Court, but facing Court.
So that will be 20, just about 20 liquor establishments in a 3-block period of Congress, or Court Street, just FYI.
All right. Thank you. Other communications?
I wanted to comment as a follow-up to our Transportation Committee. Last week we discussed the Home Street Connector, which is what we're calling it at the moment. And that particular issue, I would say, blew up on Facebook for the Near East Side neighborhood, and then there was a lot of back and forth between people, mostly against it, I would say. And also we are in receipt, I'm assuming most council members received several emails now. I'm sure they'll continue, but several emails now regarding the concerns with that connecting road. And I would say a lot of concerns for library patrons, a lot of concerns with bike trail access points, concerned with taking away green space, concerned with additional neighborhood traffic. I would say those were the main concerns that I read. Thank you.
Yes. Councilmember Cochran.
Thank you. I would just add that in the same vein, in addition to probably the same emails and social media communications, I received a number of verbal face-to-face complaints from citizens concerned about the health of a treasured community institution in the form of the library, as well as the health of the Near East Side neighborhood in the face of a proposed street extension at Home Street.
And Councilmember McGee.
Thank you, Madam President. I would apologize for this last incident. I've been approached and discussed with several concerned citizens, several business people today concerning the delay in the construction on West Union Street. The public seems to feel this is getting intolerable. Some of the businesses are suffering from it. The parking spaces are being constantly absorbed by it. Today when I walked by, I noticed the construction was minimal at best. And I just wonder why the city isn't charging rent, at least for the absorption of the street by you know, these people who are just dropping their bricks there on the street and leaving them, since they're not, obviously not making any real effort to finish this project, I would think. So I would call it to the attention of the mayor, perhaps, as well, that the public is quite concerned with this.
And yes, Mayor Patterson, would you like to respond?
Well, just as a clarification, what you're referring to is the construction that's still underway at 16 West Union Street, not any street improvement or anything of that nature,
No.
because that hasn't been appropriated yet. But-
Right, the
and-
private
okay.
construction.
Okay.
Okay. And Councilmember Butler, did you have a communication?
Yes, thank you, President. Along the lines of the Union Street corridor, I received positive feedback from community members that are in support of the enhancements to both sides of the street, acknowledging that it makes sense to improve both sides. So I wanted the mayor to receive that feedback as well that I had been the recipient of. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Fall.
I want to say that I also got a number of inquiries and concerns about the Home Street, but also that we received the 6-year capital improvement plan from Ohio University. I'm sure that's probably on their website, but if people are interested, there's probably a copy downstairs, maybe? You can. people want
I
to
know
look
that there's
at
a copy available online at the
Online,
university
so-
website
There
because
is.
it was introduced to
Yeah.
the board members at their August retreat. So, but it's good to have the paper copy and the hard copy. So, yeah, thanks to the university for providing that. Any
That's
other
all.
communications from other council members? Communications from the law director, Eliza? Okay. Communications from Mayor Patterson?
I do, I have several. Just reminders, more than anything else, is that homecoming is this weekend, with the homecoming parade route being altered somewhat towards coming up Court Street and cutting across Washington Street here in front of the parking garage in the city building, that that street will likely be closed shortly before, that stretch of the street, shortly before 10 a.m., which is when the parade starts. And so just to forewarn people that if you are going to use the parking garage to attend the homecoming parade or anything else in the uptown area, that your vehicle will be in there until that street opens back up again, which the parade is scheduled from 10 until noon. But as soon as the tail of the parade passes by the parking garage will reopen for traffic to exit, but they're going to be exiting and only being directed towards Court Street at that point, because you're not going to have anybody chasing the tail of the parade going in the other direction. So I just wanted to make sure that was out there. Also, this Friday is the Athens area stand down. Again, one last pitch for that, at least reminder that that's going on from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the county fairgrounds to raise awareness for homelessness or near homelessness throughout our area. They are also looking for any donations, again, of clothing items or toiletries or sleeping bags for that matter. And then the last thing is that the income tax open forum is tomorrow evening, 6:30 at the public library.
It's 6 p.m. I
Thank you.
think.
Thank you. It is 6 p.m. But again, to inform the public.
Okay. We'll move on now to ordinances for third reading. The first one being 11816, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into an LPA state agreement for bridge inspection program services and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you, President Nicely. I move to adopt 011816.
Second.
This ordinance, I want to read a couple of the whereases. So this is for the state to inspect our bridges, whereas the City of Athens has determined the need for bridge inspection services, including but not limited to bridge load rating calculations, scour assessments, bridge inspections, and fracture critical plan development. So I know that we have done a great job recently, as of late, to upgrade our bridges over the last so many years, but they do continually need to be inspected. So this is basically an agreement for the state to bear 100% of the cost for bridge inspection program services requested by the city and agreed to by the state.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. And we have a motion and a second at this point for approval of ordinance 11816. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 11916 is an ordinance amending the 2016 appropriation ordinance, and this is introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Madam President. I make a motion that we adopt 11916. We've discussed this in committee and previous sessions. We're getting very close to the end of our city budget year. We're in October now. And at that point, where the 2016 appropriation ordinance, which covered the budget that was prepared back in 2015 for this year, usually needs a little tweaking here and there. When you're budgeting money out a year ahead, you're assuming certain variables and you're based upon previous expenditures, and sometimes you hit the mark and sometimes you may be off a little. So that's essentially this appropriation is making some corrections to the various departments and fund lines so they have enough to meet the end of the year.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 11916. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 12016 is an ordinance amending Ordinance 1816, authorization, construction, and construction engineering services for the Depot Lift Station, project number 286, and this is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, President Isley. I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 120-16.
Second.
Thank you. Similar to other ordinances for third reading, we discussed this in committee meeting as well as the first two readings. This is a simple amending of a line. This is the funding for CDBG to complete the sewer lift plant there, Depot Lift Station, and moving the money to a different line. Thank you.
So we do have a motion, and do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. And any other comments or questions about this ordinance? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. We now have ordinance 12116, an ordinance granting a revocable license to American Electric Power, represented by Jamie Shepard, to install ADSS fiber cable on the city right-of-way on Factory Street and Riverside Drive. This is introduced by Councilmember Fall.
Thank you. I move that we adopt 12116.
Second.
We've talked about this numerous times. It's pretty straightforward. Revocable license, renewal time every 10 years for fiber cable to help upgrade access to the internet and speeds, hopefully.
Okay, good. All right, we have a motion and second for approval of ordinance 12116. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. We do have one ordinance that we do need to read for a second time, so it does not appear on your agenda here, but I will read the title of it. And this is ordinance 10716, an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to execute a mutual aid agreement between the City of Athens and Ohio University for law enforcement assistance and declaring an emergency. So this is the second reading only. There will be a following third reading of this ordinance. We'll move on to ordinances for first reading. The first one being ordinance 12216, an ordinance amending ordinance 1816 to increase the appropriation and authorized expenditure for the Depot Lift Station project number 286 and declaring an emergency. This is introduced by Councilmember Butler.
Thank you again, President Isley. This is dedicating $30,000 to complete the odor control at the mostly completed Depot Lift Station project. It's quite simple. Thank you.
Okay. We'll now move on to announcements and other business. The first one being a motion to remove from the table Ordinance 1716, an ordinance amending Athens City Code Title 17, Municipal Income Tax, Chapter 17.03, Transient Guest Tax, Section 17.03.01, Definitions, to include bed and breakfasts, and amending certain sections of Title III Zoning Code, Chapter 23.04, Permitted Uses.
Thank you. It has to be one of the
Councilmember
longer
Fall.
titles that
Yeah.
we've had. I move that we untable ordinance 1716.
Second.
We put it on the table earlier because there was some questions about some definitions and we didn't want to bring it up during the summer, but now that everybody's kind of back in the swing of things, we can go forward. I must reemphasize that this has nothing to do with R1 or R2 zones. It's only B zones and R3.
Okay. So at this point, this is a motion to remove it from the table. We have the motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion carries, and it's been removed from the table, so that when it comes back, it will be for the read for the second time, and it will now come back for its third reading. And we can take comments tonight if there's anybody from the audience or council who would like to make a comment about this particular ordinance. Okay. All right. We now have the next section for opportunities for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services that were not covered on the agenda. And we're back to trying to enforce our old procedure a little more regularly and ask that you sign your name so that we make sure that we've spelled it accurately for our minutes and have it for the record. So you're entitled to 3 minutes of comment once you've signed in. It should be right at the podium. I hope we've got a pen there. If not, I'll offer one.
My name is Scott Wolf. My address 42452 Shady Lane Road, Albany, Ohio. I've been up here to talk to you guys once before your break, twice after your break. I want to start out and let you know that I'm aggravated. I've run myself out of patience. In 4 months with city council is like a day. 4 months to a businessman is like a year. So understand that I know everything goes slowly with you guys, but with us in the real world, it doesn't. Every day really matters. So, you guys know why I'm here. What this is about today, this is about A-Team Plumbing Contractor Registration. This is about the right to work in the city of Athens. This is about the city council, the mayor, safety service director, and your code enforcement, director of code enforcement. Go off a little on my notes here. We've had a problem. You guys gave a registration to a guy that does not deserve it. He has no state license, which your code explicitly says all tradesmen will have state license. I started this process with Rick, and he agreed with me 100% that this was wrong, that this guy can't have a state license. We sat down and looked at the code together. I went and met with Rick 2 weeks later, and he said, well, Scott, we roundtabled this, and no, this is all right. We found other provisions in here that made this okay. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not all right. So I'm going to ask, we'll continue on here. Then we went to the mayor's office and we talked to Paula. And as I told you guys, we need to do something here because it ain't right. You need to pull this guy's license, his registration. Everybody just sort of, I can't, ooh. Okay, well, we need to change the code then to allow what you're doing. Or I need to die and go away. Well, the second thing's happened. You guys are going to change the code now to allow this in the way that I view this system going. And the last time I was here, I spoke, I said, please, whatever you do, don't water this down. Well, I'm going to ask you now to please just leave the city plumbing code alone. There's nothing wrong with it. The code doesn't need to be changed. The administration needs to follow their existing code. This is about enforcing existing code. Without a state license, tradesmen, electricians, plumbers, HVACs have no right to work in the city of Athens under your existing code. They have no right to obtain a registration, which you've given them. The Athens City Administration has been aware of this violation for over 4 months, and that's long enough. Clear, period, that's long enough. So I'm gonna ask the administration, and I'm gonna ask A-Team Plumbing to comply and comply immediately with your own code. They can do that with.
You'll need to finish up in just a second.
They can do that if they just go get a state license, okay? I tried to work with the administration. Their answers, they changed from time to time. The only thing they're gonna do by changing the code is hurt legitimate business people. I tried to work with the council. I tried to work with everybody. And the only thing we get is, any delays. Just, the only thing I can say is please do the right thing at this time. I had an email in to you, Mrs. President, and you got right back with me. I went down and I asked Rick, because it said talk to the service director, administrative service director. So I went down and I said, Rick, what do you know about this? Are we getting anywhere? What direction are we going? He said, Scott, I don't know anything about this. He said, it must be left with the mayor and Paula. They'll let me know once they decide what they want to do.
Okay.
The only thing, in closing, I'm going to ask you this. Let's get this done tonight, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you guys 3 days to respond back to me. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I'm going to give you 3 days to try to respond to me. And that's a response, that something is going to be done. Something is moving. Or we're just going to drag our heels. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go talk to a lawyer at this point, because I don't have any choice. The only thing I can say.
Thank you for the comments. We
Sure.
appreciate that. Thanks for coming in, and you have come to us. This will be probably your third or fourth time that you've come, yes. And so, and we do know that at this point, we don't typically, this is a time for communication, so we don't get involved in a discussion or a debate or trying to settle the matter here. I can tell you with the process that administration or somebody brings something through a committee, so it does take the time of having something vetted into a committee, and then if something would be changed up to an ordinance. So, and I think Councilmember Butler has been working on this, so we will try. And are there any other comments from either of you gentlemen that you wanted to add to this tonight? Okay. Well, we appreciate your taking the time to come out on an evening after a work day, so thank you very much. Okay. Are there any other communications from any other citizens here tonight? Council does have an executive session for pending litigation. I know we do have several people from the reporting agencies, from newspapers, and so we will move to go into executive session, but we will allow you, why don't we say 7 minutes, to ask any questions that you might have of council members or administration before we close the doors for that executive session. Yes, and excuse me, before we do that, do you have any other items that you need to bring up for announcements or other business?
I do. There's going to be a transportation committee the 10th, Monday the 10th at 1 p.m. And in the notice to the public, we will let them know where that is going to be located.
Okay. And then any other announcements from other council members? Councilmember Butler, did you have anything that you wanted to announce?
Like we need to hop on the ball with some city service safety committee meetings or discussions.
Okay.
We need a planning and development committee meeting Monday.
Transportation.
And transportation.
Probably finance and personnel. I haven't heard from anybody, but
Okay.
should be working on the budget right now.
All right, thank you for those additions then. All right, so I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move that we go into executive session with all members of council, president, the law director, the mayor,
For the purpose of,
for the purpose of litigation, discussing litigation, pending whatever.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, and we'll do the roll call vote. So Councilmember Butler? Aye. Member Reisner?
Aye.
Member Pappy?
Aye.
Member Fall?
Aye.
Member Cochran?
Aye.
Member Katsas?
Aye.
And Member McGee? Aye. Okay. All right, so we will have, it's 7:25, so we'll give you until 7:32, excuse me, to ask any questions that you might have of council members. Thank you very much. And we will